The Rest is Silence is an online choose-your-own-adventure game of Shakespeare's Hamlet, played through the eyes of Hamlet, Ophelia, or Horatio. Each decision affects the story, with well over 100 choices to be made. The large web of plot requires playing all three characters in order to experience the full engaging story, with many unique endings dependent on the player's choices. The quote, "The rest is silence," originates from the last line of Hamlet. There are dozens of different interpretations of this line, which is the main reason behind this project being named it. The ambiguity of the line lends itself well to dozens of different possible endings, and the uncertainty that comes with that. There's also a sense of fate to this line, that the rest of everything is silent due to fate and destiny refusing to reveal themselves and being silent. While having a physical book in one's hands is a great way to engage in a choose-your-own-adventure, it is easy to make a mistake and go to the wrong place, giving an unintentional spoiler to the player. The player could also try to investigate other plot lines, possibly ruining the experience. Having it playable online easily sidesteps these problems, letting the focus be on the story and the positive experience for the player. Due to the nature of a choose-your-own-adventure, the plot consists of many different branches a player can go down. Some follow most of the play Hamlet, with deaths and murders galore, while others go down hilariously different paths. There are a variety of deaths, marriages, strange situations, and mysteries for the player to choose to explore, and plenty of troubles to get into. Of course, a wide selection of choices and paths beget a wide spectrum of endings. Some paths end rather abruptly, with your character dying, while others may end in everyone alive. While the play Hamlet is, by anyone's definition, a tragedy, and a fairly bloody one at that, The Rest is Silence takes a different approach. While many of the endings are tragic, some of the paths and endings have a lighter and more comedic tone. Possible endings include Ophelia becoming truly mad and murdering the royal family, Horatio killing the king, Hamlet getting married to Horatio, and many, many more. Given the jovial and light nature of some of the paths and endings, The Rest is Silence could be considered both a tragedy and a comedy, combining the two to create a unique, exciting, and replayable experience. The differences between the tragic and comedic endings is a large foundation of the argument that The Rest is Silence makes. When a Shakespearean play is a tragedy, it and its characters are bound by the rules of what makes a tragedy. Shakespeare's tragedies consist of characters consistently making poor decisions, and these poor choices are bound to their situations and environments, which results in little growth as people. However, The Rest is Silence argues against this. The game acknowledges that one's environment has a heavy impact both on their decisions and who they are as people, as evident by the many endings that are similar or the same as the play. However, the possibility for growth and change in people is also present, and the player, through these characters, has the opportunity to actually make the right choices, no longer beholden to the genre. Shakespearean plays are often used as metaphors for the daily lives and struggles of humans, as many of the messages and themes are universal. It could be argued that Shakespeare did this on purpose in order to appeal to the masses. However, due to the strict confines of a tragedy versus a comedy, these metaphors often fall short, unable to fully encapsulate the complexity of the human experience. The Rest is Silence adds nuance to these long-standing metaphors. By allowing players to see that the characters are not trapped in the situations with no way out, but rather that their situation simply informs them in different ways, they will have a better understanding of Shakespeare plays and life in general. Life and difficult situations are complicated, and there is rarely one right answer, but it is possible to make good choices in bad situations. Choose your own adventures are a great medium for this argument, as players can see what went wrong the first time and subsequently make different, possibly better, possibly worse decisions. The player gets to choose what is right and what is wrong to them, and the results produced from that choice derive entirely from them, not what genre the game is supposed to be and is bound by. On the other hand, choose your own adventure style games are inherently limiting to the player. While they do get to make a choice, those choices were pre-created out of their control. However, this only adds to the tone of The Rest is Silence. The characters in Hamlet, and indeed many pieces of media, have choices, but those choices often feel or seem to be limited, created by their situation and environment. The Lion King is another adaptation of Hamlet that breaks the mold. Instead of being filled with gruesome death, The Lion King is a children's movie that focuses more so on the themes of betrayal and doing what is right, rather than on the horrors of death and madness. Despite the many differences, The Lion King still has a lot in common with the original play and is recognizable as a Hamlet adaptation, showing that it is possible to majorly bend the rules of its genre. Play the Knave, an Xbox Connect game, is another example of a Hamlet adaptation. In it, the players can reenact different scenes from various Shakespearean plays, with the decisions of background music and the avatar of the character up to the player. Because of this, there are many different levels and kinds of interpretations of various scenes. A scene in which was once very sad could become comical and silly through the use of an alien avatar. This makes Play the Knave, similar to The Lion King, a great example of genre bending and can lead to interesting and novel interpretations of a scene that is hundreds of years old. One situation can be thought of in many different ways based on the subjective interpretations of each player, similar to how different players will end up with different endings in The Rest is Silence. Another online game based on Hamlet is Elsinore, a point-and-click adventure game. This game has many choose-your-own-adventure aspects, however, it also has other, more complicated mechanisms of gameplay. The Rest is Silence is far simpler in terms of gameplay, more aligned with traditional choose-your-own-adventure books. The importance of Ophelia is highlighted in Elsinore, similar to in The Rest is Silence. To Be or Not to Be is a Hamlet choose-your-own-adventure book and video game. In it, the player can choose between Ophelia, Hamlet, or King Hamlet's ghost, and goes down their own path based on their decisions. It is very similar to The Rest is Silence in this way, but the plots the player can experience and the endings that can be reached are very different, with more of an emphasis on the difficulty between choices and what is good versus bad. While North's book argued more so on feminism and the difficulty of the decision to be or not to be, The Rest is Silence takes a different path. The most prominent argument in the game is that, while choices can seem impossibly hard and be heavily influenced by the world around you, it is still possible to make your own choices, and further, the right choice. The audience for this project consists of young people, ages 14 to 25, and both those who enjoy Shakespeare and enjoy playing games. The benefits of our adaptation for this audience is that it lets those unfamiliar with Shakespeare consume the material in an engaging way, with no prior knowledge necessary, while those who are familiar can engage with the story in new and unexpected ways. The Rest is Silence also attempts to aid those who play it by making the player go through difficult situations they had never experienced or thought much of before. By having to choose between hard decisions that could literally end in death, and by having the ability to go back to see what went wrong, the ability to make tough choices confidently is built up, and the skill of critical thinking is improved.